from the Presidential Palace, Manila. Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media or Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio reaffirmed the strength of the Philippines-U.S. alliance during a courtesy call at Malacañang on Wednesday, vowing deeper cooperation in defense, security, trade, and emerging technologies. The meeting comes as both nations mark 80 years of diplomatic ties and the 75th anniversary of their formal alliance. President Marcos expressed gratitude for the continued support of President Donald Trump and Secretary Rubio, underscoring the enduring partnership between Manila and Washington.
Since the Philippines now holds the chair for ASEAN, and there really are a great many issues that have to be dealt with, and I'm glad that you have had this opportunity to at least engage and have some exchanges with the other foreign secretaries, other foreign ministers, especially coming out of ASEAN. But I'm very glad, as I mentioned to you, we watched the news and we are surprised that you are still able to find time to visit with us. It's a great pleasure and an honor. Thank you very much for this visit.
Rubio in Manila for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting praised the Philippines' successful hosting of the 2026 ASEAN Summit and highlighted the importance of regional engagement. President Marcos cited energy and food security, artificial intelligence, disaster response, and economic cooperation as priority areas for collaboration. The chief executive also thanked the U.S. for its steadfast support in addressing challenges in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines and the U.S. remain bound by the Mutual Defense Treaty, Visiting Forces Agreement, and Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. The U.S. is also a top trading partner, leading source of foreign direct investment, and the Philippines' largest export market. Diplomatic relations between the two countries were formally established on July 4, 1946. Today, the U.S. stands as the Philippines' only treaty ally and a comprehensive strategic partner of ASEAN.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, says the meeting between President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio focused on strengthening defense and economic cooperation. Romualdez said the president expressed gratitude for the continued support the country has been getting from the United States, not only in defense but also on the economic front. On the West Philippine Sea, Romualdez said the issue was raised only briefly, though China remains a regular topic in discussions due to broader regional concerns. President Marcos also welcomed progress in key economic initiatives, including the Luzon Economic Corridor and the U.S.-backed Pax Silica project, which Romualdez said will boost economic security and prosperity. Asked about President Marcos's remark that the world is living in interesting times, Romualdez explained the president was referring to ongoing global developments and the importance of strong partnerships with allies. The meeting came a day after President Marcos summoned Chinese Ambassador Jing Quan to Malacañang following the reported assault of a Filipino Navy personnel by the China Coast Guard near Ayungin Shoal. The Philippines and the United States remain treaty allies under the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, with expanded cooperation in defense, infrastructure, trade, and strategic supply chains.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday rolled out two major programs in Maguindanao del Norte province to boost grassroots development and strengthen ties with the Bangsamoro government. At the Philippine Army headquarters, the President launched the Bawat Bayan Makikinabang Initiative and the National Government Bangsamoro Government Convergence Program, distributing 200,000 to each Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or Barm Village for scholars and priority projects. The Convergence Program, backed by 3.4 billion pesos in funds, delivered housing, infrastructure, and livelihood support to thousands of beneficiaries, including farmers, fisherfolk, indigenous peoples, and former combatants. President Marcos reaffirmed the government's commitment to peace and development, assuring that the first Bangsamoro parliamentary elections will proceed on September 14th. The chief executive highlighted ongoing assistance programs, including iftar support and aid to over 26,800 Hajj registrants, stressing that reforms will continue to uplift communities and ensure no Filipino is left behind.
As we gather here today, we reaffirm the enduring partnership between the national government and the Bangsamoro government. It is one anchored on mutual trust, shared responsibility, and the firm commitment to our people. Together, the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao and the National Government of the Republic of the Philippines, we are advancing a shared vision of a more peaceful, prosperous, and inclusive Philippines, guided by the belief that the strength of our nation rests on the well-being and the dignity of every Filipino. We are determined that we will push through with the second Monday of September in the coming September, and to finally achieve our dream, our goal of being able to say that we have a duly elected parliament in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. This provides the BARM government sufficient time to implement the court's decision while upholding the autonomy and democratic aspirations of the Bangsamoro people. Our commitment also extends to preserving the religious and cultural traditions of our Muslim brothers and sisters. Through the Iftar program, we ensure that socio-cultural and socio-economic initiatives reach communities in ways that are respectful of their faith and of their traditions. From January 2025 to May 2026, we provided social and basic services, including relief assistance, burial assistance, medical missions, to more than 18,200 beneficiaries. Over the past 2 years, we have also extended assistance to more than 26,800 Hajj registrants. Moving forward, this administration remains steadfast in pursuing reforms that enhance the quality of life of every Filipino, that strengthens the foundations of our economy, and to ensure that no community is left behind.
Was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang has ordered law enforcement and government agencies to guarantee a peaceful and orderly State of the Nation Address or SONA of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on July 27th, while safeguarding the constitutional rights of citizens. Executive Secretary Ralph Recto issued the directive during a security cluster meeting Tuesday, stressing the need for tight coordination among the Philippine National Police or PNP, Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA, Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP, and the Presidential Security Command or PSC. Authorities were reminded to balance peace and order with civil liberties, respecting dissent but remaining firm against violence and threats to public safety. Recto underscored seamless coordination, clear responsibilities, and continuous communication before and during the event. The palace emphasized that security preparations extend beyond the Batasang Pambansa complex to include traffic management and public convenience in surrounding areas. Top officials from the cabinet, security, transport, and local government agencies joined the meeting as preparations intensify for the president's penultimate SONA. Malacañang earlier announced that this year's address will be simple yet dignified with no celebrity directors or high-profile performers.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meantime, the National Capital Region Police Office or NCRPO will go on full alert beginning 5 in the afternoon on July 24th to secure President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s 5th State of the Nation Address or SONA on July 27th. NCRPO Chief Major General Anthony Abirian announced that 21,261 police personnel will be deployed, backed by 3,000 standby forces from nearby regional offices. Security measures include a no-fly, no-drone zone in designated areas and the nationwide suspension of permits to carry firearms outside residence on SONA Day. Deployment will cover the House of Representatives, major roads, transport hubs, rally sites, and other critical locations across Metro Manila. To manage public assemblies, 11,196 civil disbursement management personnel have been assigned, with strict instructions on maximum tolerance and respect for human rights. Temporary road closures and traffic rerouting will be enforced around the Batasang Pambansa complex. Motorists are advised to follow alternate routes via North Avenue, Mindanao Avenue, Sauyo Road, and Quirino Highway. Updated advisories will be issued by the NCRPO and the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA. Abirin assured the public that personnel, operational resources, and security measures are all in place to ensure a safe, peaceful, and orderly SONA, guided unconditionally by the rule of law and respect for constitutional rights. Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartatis Jr. echoed the call for maximum tolerance, urging rally organizers to secure permits and coordinate with authorities. Aside from the SONA, police will also secure the 112th founding anniversary of the Iglesia ni Cristo on the same day.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang has declared special non-working days in 11 areas across the country to allow residents full participation in local fiestas, founding anniversaries, festivals, and historical commemorations. Executive Secretary Ralph Recto, by authority of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., signed Proclamations number 1352 to 1362, covering towns and cities in Rizal, La Union, Davao del Norte, Sultan Kudarat, Samar, Palawan, Cavite, Batangas, Sorsogon, and Quezon. Among the highlights on July 22nd, Pililla in Rizal Town, Fiesta and Founding Anniversary. On July 30th, Sudipen in La Union, Founding Anniversary. August 1st, Asuncion, Davao del Norte, Araw ng Asuncion and Sinawug Festival, and Kapalong in Davao del Norte, 78th Founding Anniversary. On August 3rd, in Tacurong City, Sultan Kudarat, their 75th Founding Anniversary. On August 5th, Calbayog City in Samar, birth anniversary of Jose Avellino, the first Senate President after World War II. July 31st in San Vicente, Palawan, the Malagnang Festival. August 1st in Kawit, Cavite, Kawit Day. August 4th, San Pascual, Batangas Province, their founding anniversary. August 6th in Pilar, Sorsogon, also their founding anniversary. August 10th, Gumaca in Quezon, birth anniversary of statesman Lorenzo Tañada Sr. The proclamations emphasize it is fitting and proper to give residents full opportunity to take part in their respective celebrations.
Dateline Malacañang.
Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong has raised alarm over what she described as destabilizing and risky behavior in the region, following China's recent ballistic missile test and an incident near Ayungin Shoal that left a Filipino Navy personnel injured. Speaking in Pasay City on the sidelines of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN meetings, Wong confirmed she brought up the issue directly with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. The incident involved Chinese Coast Guard personnel striking a Filipino sailor with a wooden baton near Ayungin Shoal, resulting in a head injury. Wong stressed that ASEAN has the influence to set expectations and push for adherence to international law. She urged countries in the region to take a firm stand, calling for safe and professional conduct at sea and in the air. Australia reaffirmed its commitment to a rules-based order, emphasizing that great powers must also respect international law.
Dateline Malacañang.
Canada has announced new aid packages for the Philippines and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN, including 1.7 million Canadian dollars or about 74.5 million pesos to help protect Filipino children from exploitation and recruitment by criminal and terrorist groups. Foreign Minister Anita Anand made the announcement at the ASEAN Post-Ministerial Conference with Canada in Pasay City, outlining Ottawa's expanded support for regional security and development. Among the commitments, 4.5 million Canadian dollars to strengthen non-proliferation and biosecurity capacities in ASEAN, 490,000 Canadian dollars to support women's leadership during the Philippine chairship, 217,000 Canadian dollars for Laos to boost anti-money laundering and fraud response, and 455,000 Canadian dollars to reinforce fair recruitment systems for migrant workers. ASEAN and Canada ministers also highlighted cooperation in maritime, food, cyber, and energy security, while welcoming a 23% growth in bilateral trade last year, reaching $52.4 billion US dollars. Officials expressed confidence that the new ASEAN-Canada Plan of Action will further deepen economic ties.
Dateline Malacañang.
A new Okta research survey shows distrust toward China has climbed sharply among Filipinos, with 64% of adults nationwide expressing distrust, a 9-point increase from the first quarter of 2026. The survey, conducted from the 4th to the 11th of July among 1,200 respondents, found only 14% expressing trust, while 21% remained undecided. Distrust was highest among young Filipinos aged 18 to 24 at 73%, and among seniors aged 65 and above at 70%. By socioeconomic class, distrust registered at 66% in Class ABC, 63% in Class D, and 67% in Class E. Regionally, distrust was strongest in Balanced Luzon at 67%, followed by the Visayas at 63%, Mindanao at 62%, and the National Capital Region or NCR at 59%. Okta noted NCR had the highest proportion of respondents expressing strong trust at 13%, compared to single-digit figures elsewhere. Urban and rural respondents showed nearly identical results, with 63% and 65% distrust respectively. Both men and women registered 64%. The survey carries a plus-minus 3% margin of error at a 95% confidence level, with plus-minus 6% for subnational estimates.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, personally visited the family of the Filipino seafarer who died in the Black Sea on July 22nd to extend government condolences and deliver immediate assistance. Migrant Workers Secretary Leo Magpayo led the visit in Batangas, assuring the bereaved family of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s support. The DMW is working to repatriate the remains of the seafarer at the soonest possible time. The agency will also assist in extending the vacation of his sibling working in Dubai, covering travel costs through the Migrant Workers Office there. Another sibling, also a seafarer, will be met and assisted upon arrival. For the children left behind, job seekers will be linked to the Public Employment Service Office, while those still in school will receive educational support through OWA. The DMW and OWA pledged to accompany the family throughout the wake until burial. The seafarer's father expressed heartfelt gratitude for the government's swift assistance.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other developments, The Philippine National Police, or PNP, backed by other government agencies, is pressing forward with operations to locate Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, who is wanted under an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court, or ICC. Interior and Local Government Secretary John Vic Remulla confirmed the manhunt remains on track, but withheld operational details to avoid compromising the pursuit. He acknowledged the difficulty of tracking De La Rosa and former Bureau of Corrections Chief Gerald Bantag, noting both men's deep familiarity with law enforcement procedures. Authorities are employing a range of strategies beyond traditional methods, adapting their approach to counter the challenges posed by high-profile fugitives. Remulla stressed that law enforcement will not relent in pursuing individuals evading justice, whether within Philippine territory or abroad. Senator De La Rosa was last seen in the early hours of May 14th, leaving the Senate with Senator Robin Padilla after attending a session. Since then, his whereabouts remain unknown. The ICC warrant against De La Rosa stems from allegations tied to his role in the government's anti-drug campaign. His case has drawn international attention, intensifying pressure on Philippine authorities to act decisively.
Dateline Malacañang.
The National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, says Davao City Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte may face criminal charges for grave threat and inciting to sedition following his remarks against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. NBI Director Melvin Matibag made the disclosure during questioning by Senator Judge Panfilo Lacson, who noted that both Mayor Duterte and Vice President Sara Duterte had issued similar threats against the president. Mayor Duterte was quoted in May as saying, "We only want one head, the head of Bongbong Marcos," during a rally in Cebu. The vice president, meanwhile, previously threatened to behead the president and later claimed she had arranged for the assassination of President Marcos Jr., First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and then Speaker Martin Romualdez if she were killed. The NBI has already filed charges against Vice President Duterte with the Department of Justice, or DOJ. Matibag explained that Mayor Duterte's statement is being handled under a broader inquiry by a special task force created in April to investigate continuing threats against the president. He said investigators are also exploring a possible conspiracy behind the threats, which requires more time to establish. Matibag added that the trigger point for forming the task force was Mayor Duterte's head statement, though authorities had already been monitoring threats prior to that. The case underscores heightened tensions between the Duterte family and the Marcos Jr. administration, with law enforcement now weighing criminal liability for both the vice president and the Davao City mayor.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Department of Agriculture, or DA, on Wednesday reported that more than 12 million Filipinos have benefited from cheaper food commodities through the Kadiwa ng Pangulo, or KNP program, which has now reached 4.42 billion pesos in sales. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said the program is a win-win for both producers and consumers. Chularel noted that Kadiwa is proving that a stronger market for farmers translates into more affordable food for Filipino families. Over half of the sales came from the 20 peso per kilo rice under the Benting Bigas Meron Na program, with 121,271 metric tons sold, generating 2.4 billion pesos. Since its launch in May 2025, the initiative has benefited 12.1 million Filipinos, including senior citizens, persons with disabilities, solo parents, 4-piece beneficiaries, minimum wage earners, transport workers, indigents, and registered farmers and fisherfolk. KNP Head Assistant Secretary Genevieve Velicaria Guevara said, the program advances President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s food security agenda. Beyond rice, Kadiwa has evolved into a nationwide farm-to-market platform, cutting out middlemen and directly linking farmers, fishers, and agribusinesses to consumers. To date, 187 suppliers and consolidators are accredited under the program.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and mabuhay.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.